We should spend some time together. Say, 2 weeks in Puerto Rico.
Hi there, and welcome to Baseball by Design. I am SportsLogos.net minor league baseball correspondent Paul Caputo, broadcasting live, as always, from the Sunday Helmet Hall of Fame in my basement in Fort Collins, Colorado.
And I am Dan Simon, podcasting from the Studio Simon headquarters at historic Bowman Field in Louisville, Kentucky.
Dan, we have such a fun episode ahead today. I am so excited for this. We've got Tyler Maun from the Minor League Baseball Show Before the Show podcast, but not just that. He's the lead broadcaster for the World Baseball Classic for Pool A. This year he was in Puerto Rico, just like I was, except he was working, he was broadcasting. And then we're going to have Ed Rivera, my Puerto Rican friend, who is the host of the Dad Hat Chronicles podcast, my partner in crime here at Curved Brim Media. We got to go with our respective families, significant others, to Puerto Rico to go see some World Baseball Classic. It was a first for me. I'll just ask you from a design perspective. Did you follow it? What are your thoughts on the sort of visual richness of the whole World Baseball Classic experience?
I think you ask pretty much anybody who watched any of the World Baseball Classic, it was just a great event. You know, it was a good event already, and it just keeps getting better. The fans were into it. The baseball was great. So the design, you know, obviously I shouldn't say obviously, for those who know, they know that the original World Baseball Classic logo was done by friend of the show, Todd Radom. It's been updated, I don't think by Todd Radom, but it's still, you can see Todd's design still in it. And it's a really cool logo. I really like the logo.
I know that you have traveled to see baseball in quite a few places. Have you ever seen baseball outside the continental United States?
Paul, I am not the traveler that you are, even though I do travel with you
That's
one
true.
time a year. You've been to Japan, you've been to Puerto Rico. I would imagine you've seen baseball in Canada, have you? Yes, you have. I know you've seen
the Expos, the Quebec Capitale, and the Vancouver Canadians. And then I don't know if this counts because it's still American Major League Baseball. Ranger Amy and I went to the London series and saw two games a couple of years ago.
That certainly counts as international baseball, even though it was not, you know, a London league. It was
right. It was Phillies Mets.
But yeah, you truly travel for baseball. And, you know, there's a lot of people who do baseball road trips, a lot of people who've been to all of the major league stadiums and people who are trying to get to all the major league stadiums, but not as many people, I think, travel quite as worldly as you do.
Well, this episode is going to be about baseball off the continental United States. It's going to be about our experience in Puerto Rico, and I feel very lucky to have Tyler Maun on this episode. He's just a terrific guy and did such a great job broadcasting once again at the World Baseball Classic. And then, of course, my good friend Ed Rivera was very gracious hosting us with his family in Puerto Rico. So this is a really fun episode. We're going to get to Tyler and to Ed right now. And then, Dan, you'll be back at the end of this episode with a Studio Simon Stumper.
I will indeed. So I'll see you in just a bit.
Holy smokes, I am so excited to have baseball celebrity, baseball glitterati, play-by-play broadcaster for the World Baseball Classic. And also, you probably already know Tyler Maun from the Minor League Baseball Show Before the Show podcast. Tyler, holy smokes, thank you for being here. Thanks for coming and talking about the World Baseball Classic.
Paul, it's so good to see you, man. As always, thanks for having me again.
I mean, if you watched Pool A of the World Baseball Classic, that was the voice that you heard calling the 5 teams that were playing there in San Juan, Puerto Rico at Hiram Bithorn Stadium. Tyler, first of all, congratulations on all of your success. I mean, I've been listening to you forever on the podcast. 2 World Baseball Classics in a row. You've gotten to go travel and call some baseball games. Congratulations so much on all that.
Thanks, man. It is the coolest thing that I've done yet in my career. And I feel tremendously lucky for that, sort of, you know, shoehorning my way into this somehow. But it's been a blast, man. And this was somehow even better than 2023, I think, this time around.
Well, 2023, you had what can only be described as a signature call, right? Like you had Yu Chang from Chinese Taipei hitting a grand slam in Taiwan, right? Like, I mean, and your call of it was incredible. The thing I loved about that call was you called it, it was exciting, and then the crowd just took the moment, right? Like that must be something that you have learned or that you are doing intentionally, because I can't imagine that there wasn't a million things that you wanted to say in that moment.
Yeah, I am very grateful, and I've told this story before, but I'm really grateful to a guy named Cole Stukenholtz, who I did some high school athletics with when I was in college at the University of Nebraska. Cole was a couple years older than me, and so we would do, broadcasts together on student radio, and we also worked for a local, like, public access TV station, and we would do high school football together. And Cole was the guy who taught me, I was 20, 21 years old, and was the guy who taught me, like, when a team scores, you don't have to jump in right away and explain it. Let that moment kind of play out on its own. There's always time to explain it. We'll have replays, we'll have stuff like that. Don't jump in right away. Let that moment live on its own. And I've tried to expand that a lot more throughout my career. And yeah, the Yu Chang call was one of them. Japan winning Premier 12 in 2019 was another one. Chinese Taipei winning in 2024 was another one with their first big time international title. And, and then getting to do it with some stuff this time around. I've just learned when it comes to TV calls, especially, there's nothing I can say in that moment that is going to add to what people are seeing on TV. So I'm really lucky to have had not only some moments, but also some crowds that have really given life to those.
Right. Well, I should say that I was in the crowd for one of the games that you were calling, Panama versus Canada. We had a couple rain delays. That was fun. But before we get to that, you had a signature moment this year again. And if you don't mind, I'm going to share that with the listeners. I'm sure everyone has heard your signature moment from 2026. Everyone has heard this, I'm sure.
We got drama tonight as well.
We do.
We've got a national anthem standoff between Panama and Canada.
This is what a rain delay will do to you. You start chatting back in the locker room, thinking, okay, what can we do out the gates? As we see Canada's about to take the field and Logan Allen still hanging out on the line. What do we got down there for Team Panama?
So I was just wondering, a batting helmet on. Is that somebody in the lineup? Oh, it's the two Logan Allens. Well, that's fitting. That? So it's not just a national anthem standoff, a post-anthem standoff. This is a Logan Allen standoff. Which Logan Allen will reign supreme? Who's going to blink first in the battle of Logan's Allen?
Chills, Tyler. Chills. Absolutely. What a moment. I'm sure everyone was expecting that was the moment I was going to share here. So, all right. First of all,
that was pretty great because I had a guy in Ryan Roland Smith who was able to just jump in immediately and tell you, like, oh, this is what happens during a rain delay. That's a guy who's been in those spots, and he knows here's the reason why these dudes are in this mode. Yeah, that was so much fun. And Panama's Logan Allen got the win, and then Panama got the win in that game. So you never know. It could have been all because of that momentum.
They did. And obviously I'm being a little bit funny here. Your signature moment was an incredible moment for Team Puerto Rico. Darryl Ernez walked it off against that Panamanian team. And I'll play that call at the end of this interview. It's an incredible call. You did the same thing that you did with Yu Chang. You let the moment happen. You had a great call of it. You threw a little Spanish in there. You said increíble, which was great. And then you let the crowd take it. I have to tell you, I was watching that at my friend Ed Rivera's parents' house. We were traveling together. Ed, host of the Dad Hat Chronicles, who we'll talk to later on in this episode. We were watching it at his house in Humacao, Puerto Rico. We were watching the Spanish language broadcast. I didn't get to hear your call until later. We heard it in the Spanish language, which was also a blast. Like that was totally fun. But calling that moment in Puerto Rico for that Puerto Rican crowd, that must have just absolutely carried you.
I mean, it's a thing that I will never forget. People talk about core memories in life so often these days, and that is, just like the Yu Chang home run, that's one of them for me. And again, there was nothing in that moment that I could say that was going to further contextualize or enhance watching Darryl Ernez float around the bases, the reactions of the fans, the sound. The sound is the most important thing there, because if you're watching it and you are more than likely audibly reacting yourself, you're probably not going to hear the call anyway. And you're certainly not going to hear any nonsense that I'm just throwing out there in a word vomit to try to explain, oh, Darrell Hernandez is dancing around the bases, when you can see that that's what's going on. And so that was, probably the coolest moment of my career. And to get to not only have had that moment, but to get a call out of it that I think people really appreciated in Puerto Rico was really cool. Puerto Rico has been through a really rough several years. And for that island to have, rebuilt their ancestral home baseball ground, the most sacred baseball place arguably in Puerto Rico, and to get to host that team for the first time in a World Baseball Classic in 13 years, and then to get to watch that moment happen from, comparatively a no-name guy. If you're talking about Darrell Hernandez in comparison with Carlos Correa and Javier Baez and Francisco Lindor, like, he's probably not even on that team if those guys are on that team. So not to have your top roster there, and to still get to live out that moment, and to get to do it with a guy who grew up in San Juan and has played in that ballpark before, and he gets to take center stage for his entire people, was just so cool, man. And, the fact that I think people in Puerto Rico appreciated that call was really neat. The Spanish language play-by-play guy from then on through the end of the tournament called me Senor Increíble, which was really cool. But yeah, man, it was, that is a moment that I, stage for stage, I still remember everything about the Yu Chang home run call and kind of what my mental process was like. And for this one, it was really, as soon as it came off the bat, the only thought I had was, oh, he got it. Like, I knew the second that ball came off the bat, learning how things would travel in that ballpark over a couple of days, you had sort of formed an expectation, which was very similar, honestly, to how Taichung Intercontinental Ballpark Stadium played back in 2023. Not a lot of stuff was flying out to left. There was a ton of wind. But as soon as that ball came off the bat, I was like, oh, that's gone.
Yeah.
And that was a really cool certainty to have in that moment, to be able to make that call.
So you mentioned just being in Puerto Rico, obviously, following you on social media, heightened my experience of following the World Baseball Classic by seeing the posts that you were making, not just with Ryan Rowland-Smith, in the broadcast booth or at the games. Those were obviously great, but in and around Puerto Rico, right? Like, getting to be in that place. The thing that struck me while I was there, and I was there for a shorter time than you were, and I only went to the one game, the Panama-Canada game. The thing that struck me was the entire island was buzzing, right? Yeah. People were so into the fact that their team was playing these local games, that they were in the World Baseball Classic, in spite of the insurance issues that kept some of the players away, that sort of thing. The gift shops, I'm wearing my knockoff unlicensed World Baseball Classic stuff right now. I'm wearing a hat that I got in the airport as soon as I landed, right? Like, it was hard not to get swept up in it. When you were, outside of when you were at Irving Thorne Stadium, when you were just out and about in Puerto Rico, what did that do for you as part of the World Baseball Classic experience?
That was the coolest thing, seeing the way, and it was this way in Taiwan 3 years ago also, and it was this way in Taiwan last year for the qualifier, and in Panama City in 2022 for the qualifier, and, to a lesser degree in Regensburg, Germany. It's not quite as much of a baseball place, but the people who were at those games in 2022 and that qualifier were incredible. I think the electricity on the island in a fandom sense, was unlike anything I've experienced because, like I said, Puerto Rico has dealt with a lot of challenges in recent years, and they have been left, hung out to dry in so many different ways. And for them to be able to have something like this to feel good about and be excited about, that was the coolest thing to me. But, we would get into an Uber to go, somewhere to go grab food or to go to the ballpark the first couple of days before we had our shuttles from the hotel. And with zero exceptions, the return rate on, people that we would talk to in stores or who were driving us or who we were interacting with, at the hotel, it was 100% on people who wanted to talk about baseball. And that was so cool. Everybody wanted to talk about the WBC. Everybody wanted to talk about their team. They wanted to ask us about, what it was like in the stadium if they weren't able to get tickets, what it was like, who we thought was going to win the whole event. Like that was the most exciting part, was that it wasn't I didn't even know that was going on. It was the second anybody knew you were in any way connected to the World Baseball Classic, that's what they wanted to talk about.
One of the things I really appreciated about your broadcast with Ryan was, look, I was hook, line, and sinker. I was bought into the World Baseball Classic. I watched every inning that I possibly could, including recording games, turning my phone off, watching them after the fact so that the surprise wasn't ruined, right? Like, so I was fully bought into the World Baseball Classic, enjoyed every single inning of it. One of the things, though, I noticed was other announcers, other pools, or the later rounds, they would say, oh, this player played in, AAA, he played in AA. And then that, they would move on from it. And I'm like, no. Tyler is on the show before the show. Tyler knows these teams. He knows the minor league baseball. Even when you were talking to Ryan, you said, he was talking about his career, and he's like, you said, oh yeah, that was the Appleton Foxes before they were the Wisconsin Timber Rattlers, right? Like, and I was just like, there you go. There's the respect that minor league baseball deserves, right? So, I don't really have a question about that. I just did notice it. But one of the things that I wanted to ask you about was minor league baseball visually is wacky and getting wackier, right?
Yeah.
Bright colors. Obviously, we have the Copa program, all these alternate identities. The teams themselves are having more and more sort of, fun, wacky identities. Visually rich, right? The World Baseball Classic is visually rich in a different way. It's in the stands, it's on the field, it's on the caps. It's a huge part of the experience. How do you convey that, or do you try to convey that as part of a broadcast?
Oh man, that is a great question. First of all, I do feel very honored to be somebody who, I think other people who love minor league baseball see me as a guy who loves minor league baseball. Like that's a thing. No matter where I go in my career, I think I'll always see myself as a minor league baseball guy. And those are the best people. The people that I love the most in this game are people who either are still in, or I grew up with through, or dedicated a large portion of their lives to minor league baseball. So that's really cool to be recognized by other minor league forward people as like, oh, that's somebody who gets, what all these guys have gone through just to try to reach this level. It is interesting with the Classic because it is so different, but it is a similar it's a similar bouquet of flowers, just all the flowers are different from minor league baseball to the World Baseball Classic. And that's how international baseball is in its entirety, is it brings in so many different types of fandom, which I think is the coolest part. And the nice thing is, like, we don't have to do a lot to explain all of that. We just get to show it off. So whether it's the cheering sections in Japan, or the cheerleaders in Taiwan or Korea, or, the drums for a team like Puerto Rico or Venezuela, all of these squads that have their own unique traditions and things that their fans bring, that's really cool. And the thing that is neatest about that for me and Ryan is, I've called baseball in over a dozen different countries now, and Ryan has played in I don't know how many different countries. And, he got to play in front of those fans in Japan in a World Baseball Classic game. He knows what it's like to be on the mound in Taiwan pitching in a CPBL game. And so he can speak to that in ways that a lot of other guys who only played in the US can't really. And I think his experience and his depth of knowledge when it comes to baseball and everything on the international landscape is just unparalleled in our broadcasts. And I'm so proud of him for, he is the most fun guy to work with. He's hilarious. He's humble. He is his own biggest critic, but he's so good at what he does. And the biggest compliment that we got, and I think that we could ever get from anybody, is a good friend of mine. Her husband said, I think Tyler and Ryan are the booth that I would want to just sit and have a beer with. And that to me is like, to just be able to sit and watch a baseball game with somebody and have a beer, like that's what this is all about. And that's what international baseball is about. And that's what those fans are about. And so, yeah, you do you try to show off, the biggest supporters, or the goofiest fans, the guys from Canada who had like 3 dozen beer cans on top of the dugout one day, the Japanese fan who lives in Panama who was there, who got spotlighted on one broadcast waving his Panamanian flag and drinking a beer, the small contingent of fans from Cuba. There's a Cuba super fan who follows their national teams around to pretty much every international event that he can. We saw him in Taiwan in 2023. He was back this year. So it's really cool to get to show off these personalities personalities, both individually and collectively as the personalities of these teams, these countries, these fan bases. That's a really, again, that's just a thing I feel so honored to be able to bring to people and sort of contextualize for people, because it is more than just, look at these fans and they've got these drums. It's a whole lot more of that. In Japan, it's about the personalized songs for each player and the cheering sections and the discipline and the regimented structure behind how they cheer and the things they use. In Puerto Rico, my dad asked me, okay, so I hear him doing this chant that sounds like bonche. What is that? And I said, oh, that's ponche. That's for a strikeout. Learning those sorts of things, it just adds so much. I love that term, color. Like, it adds so much color to a game that, for so many people, I think can feel staid and can feel old. And then you experience baseball in a different way, like it is on the international landscape. And it is a whole different thing.
You famously, with our group here, our Curved Brim media friends, found us outside the championship game in Las Vegas, not last year, but the year before that.
Yeah.
And that was such a thrill for us to be, to have the famous Tyler Maun approach us and be like, hey, I know you guys. That was your approachability and, your availability to fans and to friends like me is really exceptional. So it's with that backdrop that I don't want you to feel any guilt at all whatsoever. But when it comes to talking about, like, there's a booth where I'd love to have a beer with those two guys. Ed Rivera and I were outside the door of your booth during a rain delay, and I'm sitting there with 2 Medalla beers, and I'm just like,
oh, man.
Do I knock on the door here and be like, hey, Tyler, we brought you a beer.
That would have been magnificent.
I'm not sure you're even allowed to do that. It was funny knowing that we were we were 10 feet away from each other. You were working, right? Like, so I couldn't knock on the door and do that. But I was like, once it was a rain delay, I was just like, maybe? I was like, no. No, it was...
Rain delay beers hit in such a special way, too. Like, I can't during a game. But one thing I appreciated about all of those fans, we had so many different rain delays. Murray Cook, who's the field guru for MLB, Murray was on site and kind of leading the whole thing. It was the only outdoor venue for the opening round, well, for all of the World Baseball Classic this year. So Murray was there. I think he told me they ended up having 19 tarp pulls over 6 days, which is a lot of tarp pulls.
That's
for anybody
a ton
who
of
has
tarp pulls.
Ever been on a tarp crew, that is a lot of tarp pulls. And I will never shy away from shouting out the fact that Ryan Roland Smith admitted on international television he has never pulled tarp before, which is inexcusable to me.
Wow.
But the coolest thing to me was in all of those rain delays, nobody left.
Right.
In the States, and this isn't a shot at American fans, like you're at the Wednesday night game and your kids have school the next day, or you got to get up for work or whatever. I get it. You don't want to sit through rain delays to an 11:30 finish, whatever it is, but nobody left those games.
No.
And you would see there was a company out in the little fan plaza area that was giving away free umbrellas. And you would see as the rain started, just these little crops, these little plants of green umbrellas popping up all over the seats in the lower bowl area. And then when they called, for the tarp, all those people would just bounce up to the concourse, buy some beers, hang out for a little while, and then they would all flood back in as soon as the rain was done. And that was so cool to me.
That World Baseball Classic festival outside the ballpark was incredible. And
very cool.
We took away, my girlfriend Amy, who you met in Las Vegas. She won we won for her a jersey from the Puerto Rico rum stand.
I saw a guy wandering around in one of those, and then I saw a guy in Miami wearing one of those. I was like, man, I should have tried to get one of those jerseys.
It was
sweet.
Super good. You could have done it. You had to throw a ball through a hole, right?
I might have been able to make that work.
All right, I have one more question for you, Tyler, because I want to respect your time here. But this is...
I got nothing going on.
Honestly, I could do this for a long time, Tyler. Don't tempt me. So you have written for minor league baseball some pretty granular articles about uniforms, right? Like the branding, the marketing, the uniforms of these teams. It matters to you, right? Like this is something that you like a lot. One of the ideas that I have heard that I absolutely love, the players who play in the World Baseball Classic, let them wear or ask them to wear a World Baseball Classic patch branded to their country on their minor league uniform, on their major league uniform for the rest of the season, or maybe for another 4 years until they play, another World Baseball Classic.
Did we have the same thought, or did you see me toss that out? Because I had the exact same thought.
Did you have that thought?
Yes.
Did I steal it from you?
No, I'm sure you didn't. I'm sure that's just a thing that uniform guys think about, because the thought that I had was, they have the gold patches for the players that win MVP and Cy Young awards now.
Right.
So yeah, if you won the WBC, you should get a WBC colored MLB Batterman on the back of your jersey all season. I think that is such an honorific thing for the guys who won, but it also, I think, lends so much more gravity and importance and credence to the weight of the World Baseball Classic, that it's not just like, well, this was a fun thing and it's in the books now and we're on to Major League Baseball season.
Right.
Let those guys play with that honor on their jerseys for the entire. And we hear so much about the concept of one baseball. That is one baseball. If you're a champion, and what would be extra cool would be if they did it no matter what league you were playing in. So whether it was an MLB or if you're playing in Japan or Korea or Taiwan and you get the logo of that league in World Baseball Classic colors, what a cool way to unify baseball internationally. So yeah, I'm very into that idea. I'll throw out my uniform hot take about the World Baseball Classic.
Okay.
I honestly do sort of wish, now with some stipulations, I wish that the 2023 uniform situation was the permanent uniform situation. And I'll explain it this way. So in 2023, MLB was coming out of the lockout. In 2022, they held the qualifiers late in 2022. And then into 23, when the World Baseball Classic came back, everybody was sort of on the hook for their own uniforms because MLB didn't have enough lead time to have all the uniforms manufactured for every country like they had for the previous 4 World Baseball Classics. Yeah. So in 2023, everybody was on their own. Now, that did lead to some bad uniforms. And, everybody obviously will go out and dunk on Great Britain for that because they had heat pressed lettering that was falling off on their. But let me counter that by saying I think that the visual feast of all of those different uniform styles is so much better than the templated look. Yeah. The templated look looks very big league, which is cool, and that's great. I would be very into the idea of everybody getting a budget for, because that's for so many of, especially the smaller federations, one of the big things is MLB will cover that uniform and equipment budget for the World Baseball Classic. Right. But you'll use what they give you. And that's understandable. But I think it would be very cool if MLB said, okay, here's the uniform budget. If you are Italy and you want to go out and use Area or whoever to make your uniforms like you did in 2023, that's cool. And you're going to come with such a distinctive Italian look. If you're, the Netherlands and you want to use M Sport, the company that makes all of their merchandise now and their equipment for, their World Cups and all that type of stuff, who came up with that incredible crown logo and the pinstripes on the home uniforms and such, which they actually didn't have pinstripes due to the template this time around for their all whites. But that I think is fantastic. Baseball Canada has had a long time partnership with Under Armour. They didn't have the greatest, jersey design in 2023 and they got sort of ripped for that. But if there are qualifications from MLB of hey, lettering needs to be stitched, it has to be this, type of fabric, this level of thickness, whatever it is, I think there would be ways to do that and also give these teams a little bit more of their own control over how they look. And I think that just brings such a more universally loved feel of we all love this sport and we're all going to do it in our own way, right. And that I think would be very cool. It's sort of what they do for, the World Cup and soccer. And, if you go to our youth events for WBSC, not even just youth events, if you go to Premier 12, the senior level event, everybody has their own uniform manufacturer. So I think it'd be really cool. It obviously would need to come with some baseline quality assurance check marks, but I would love that, man. It's just the international looks of all these teams is amazing. And that's another one of my favorite things about this event and about international baseball as a whole.
Well, and my understanding is, and you would know this better than I would, that Japan actually did have branding from their own federation,
Right.
and then the other 19 teams were all part of this sort of
Right.
templated look.
And
it
that's
ended-
always been how it is with Japan. I know in the first World Baseball Classic, there were a few teams that went with the non-templated look. Korea actually had Nike uniforms way back then. That was 2006 when, virtually nobody had Nike baseball uniforms.
Yeah.
But yeah, Japan has gone its own route. Chinese Taipei has gone its own route at times. But this time around, MLB basically said, like, all right, we'll outfit everybody with Nike. And Japan said, no, we've got our own thing. We're going to do our own thing. And, when you're the 3-time champs, you've got the ability to put your stamp on that. And so it's cool. And it gave them a very unique look, which I loved.
Listeners of this podcast know that when I say it's the last question, it's never the last question. But what, you threw something out on social media the other day that I absolutely adored. I loved that this connection exists in the world. Todd Radom designed the branding for the World Baseball Classic, the original logo in 2006, and then there's been iterations of it since then. He was on this podcast in 2023. He and I hung out briefly at the World Series in 2022 because he's in Philadelphia now. I'm a big Philadelphia sports fan. And then last year we hung out in Fishtown. We had a beer. So Todd's a friend. He's a friend of the show. He's a friend of me. And we're going to see each other this year at the All-Star Game again. So, Todd and I have plans. You threw out that Todd designed the logo for your wedding. Is that true?
He did, yeah. I similarly, I'm lucky enough to call Todd a friend. We had Todd on the Minor League Baseball podcast in, I think, 2016 or 2017,
yeah.
And we just hit it off immediately. And I had known and loved Todd's work forever, but to get to actually talk to him was the coolest thing in the world. And then we just got to be buds after that. And we hung out at the All-Star Game here in Denver back in 2021. We've seen each other a handful of times since then. I mean, he's the greatest. I did, though. I got married in 2023, and earlier that year, I hit him up and I said, hey, man, what is the likelihood that you would design something for my wedding? And he said, yeah, absolutely. You get the friends and family rate. What do you need? And so I kind of gave him the idea, and he came up with this, gorgeous interlocking. My wife's name is Beth, so it's an interlocking TB, and
nice.
Sort of a roundel that has our wedding date, and it's incredible. And yeah, I made that connection because Todd posted pictures of the 2006 World Baseball Classic final from San Diego, and I would have been like 6 sections down to his left because I was there as a fan with all my college friends, and I posted, this might be the first time that Todd and I were ever in the same place at the same time. And then 17 years later, he came up with a logo for my wedding, which, I also remember the first time I saw the World Baseball Classic logo, and I'm looking at all the different iterations of it on my wall right now. But I remember thinking like, oh, that is one of the most beautiful logos I've ever seen. And, credit to the refreshed look too, which was an MLB thing. I think that's a great look too. I do wish that they would have kept the baseball stitching, because I think my favorite thing about Todd's original logo is the baseball stitching overlaid by the latitudinal and longitudinal lines, to make that center element look like a globe. I thought that was so cool.
Yeah.
But even now, the multicolored fanned elements of the logo, I think, are just gorgeous. So yeah, Todd knocked it out of the park originally, and the redesign has been knocked out of the park too.
Well, anyone who wants to learn more about that logo can go back 3 years in the annals of baseball by design for that episode with Todd. He was a guest, and he talked all about his World Baseball Classic logo. So that's the first time I met him was at a World Series game that the Phillies won 7-0. So I'll always have positive associations with Todd Radom. Tyler, this is something I say all too often, but I really genuinely mean it. I've kept you way too long. I kept you way longer than I meant to keep you.
This is a blast, man. No way.
Holy smokes. It was so much fun to listen to your call, and a surreal. And this is something Ben Hill said on the Minor League Baseball podcast when he was interviewing you as a guest on your own podcast, where he basically said, I was listening to these games, I was watching these games, and I couldn't believe that, hey, that's my friend Tyler doing that, right? Like, and it's, you get lost in it because you're genuinely, I mean this sincerely, you're genuinely so good at it. It's such a pleasure to listen to you call the games, but knowing how much I enjoy your company, I really appreciate everything that you do. The podcast every week, Minor League Baseball podcast, is totally fun. The World Baseball Classic stuff is an absolute joy. I don't know. Tyler, where can people find you on online on social
Yeah,
media?
well, thank you, first of all, Paul. It's been so cool to get to be buds over all these years now, and to get to come back to the show is awesome. You know how much I always love listening to you, and you know the fact that we get to nerd out on all of the baseball stuff that I love most is just the coolest. So I can't thank you enough for all that and for all the kind words. And yeah, I'm kicking around social media. I'm on Instagram at TylerMonPXP, like play by play, and I'm over on Blue Sky, which on the good days really feels like good old baseball Twitter. Like when
Yes.
baseball Twitter was good,
Yeah.
Blue Sky kind of has that juice these
It
days.
does.
So that's fun.
It does.
But yeah, so I'm there, and I got some other stuff, kind of coming down the hopper. We'll put it that way. I've got a couple of projects I'm really excited about. I'm going to try to start showcasing hopefully more of not just the baseball side, but kind of the travel side and the people side of a lot of these cool trips that I get to take. So hopefully we'll have more of that coming out soon. And yeah, man, just trying to enjoy this world while we've still got it.
Well, I will reiterate that you are in Denver. I am in Fort Collins. And my understanding is that we both like beer. So
Yes.
it seems like there might be possibilities for us to grab a beer in Denver, maybe before a Rockies game or something.
We both like beer and we both like baseball.
I think there are possibilities afoot here. In the meantime, we're going to take everyone out with your call of Darryl Arnez's walk-off home run in Puerto Rico. Tyler, thank you.
On the biggest stage in international baseball. And the 1-2, crushed, left field line, deep, Puerto Rico, increíble! In 20 years of the World Baseball Classic, we had never had a walk-off home run. And on this day, we've had two. Ozzy Albies this afternoon for the Kingdom of the Netherlands. And Darryl Hernandez tonight for the home team in San Juan. And Puerto Rico is 2-0.
All right, everyone, welcome back to Baseball by Design. My very good friend, the co-founder, along with yours truly, of Curved Brim Media, Ed Rivera, host of the Dad Hat Chronicles. Ed, how you doing?
What's up, man?
Ed, we are just back from Puerto Rico. I want to go back. Holy
I'm
smokes.
good with that.
That was a signature baseball experience. Every time I do something fun with baseball, I say everyone should do this. I wholeheartedly believe that everyone should see World Baseball Classic, but not just see World Baseball Classic. Go see World Baseball Classic somewhere where you might not necessarily otherwise see Major League Baseball, right?
So outside of the continental USA, right?
Outside of the continental USA. We got to see it at Iram Bithorn Stadium. Iram Bithorn, the first ever Puerto Rican major leaguer. That was
Correct.
new information to me. I learned that during our trip. But hey, we stayed with your folks. We had an authentic Puerto Rican experience. Of course, Ranger Amy was with us. Your lovely wife, Darla, was there. Your hilarious daughter, Mia, was there. We had a great time traveling together. Just got to see, first of all, Puerto Rico, which was amazing.
Yep.
We got to do some awesome stuff. And we got to see World Baseball Classic baseball. One of the things I really appreciated was how fiercely, fiercely proud you were of your native Puerto Rico. It was fun for you to show it off. What were some, outside of the baseball, let's start outside of baseball. What were some of the things you enjoyed showing off the most?
My amazing Formula One driving is one of the things that I enjoyed showing everybody.
You got us there, man. I just put my faith in you, and I was just like, Ed is going to get us where we need to be. I'm not going to worry about physics or the dynamics of space and time. I'm just going to assume that car is going to fit where he's trying to put it, and it always did.
Listen, it fit, didn't it?
Hey, one of the things that I haven't really talked about that much, look, we went to the beach at Laquillo. That was very cool. We saw the bioluminescent bay at Fajardo with a scary unlicensed guide and no lights.
I cannot tell you, and now that I'm out of it and that I'm safe at home, my level of anxiety
Oh, no.
was through the roof.
Yeah.
because I had my little one with me. Not because of me.
And all of the other tours, the kayaks had little lights on them. So we're paddling around in the dark. We got nothing.
Pitch black.
But then we saw the bioluminescent bay, and that was
cool.
That was
cool.
No,
that was cool. The experience after all, we all laughed, obviously.
Yeah.
We laughed. We had a good laugh. We had a good experience. We survived that, so that was pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
It was beautiful. It was gorgeous.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people get to see
Right.
the bioluminescent bay.
Right. Let me tell you something else I really enjoyed that you showed us, and this was again having the authentic experience because what did we do? We did El Yunque, we did
El Morro, which
El
you had already done.
Yeah, but it had been a decade, right? So it was cool to see the fort overlooking the ocean there at in Old San Juan. We visited the gift shops and bought some unlicensed gear for the World Baseball Classic. We loaded up on it. But one of the things that we got to see that, look, you're just not going to see as a tourist. If you're there with a local and, staying on an air mattress in your friend's parents' house in Humacao, unless you're doing that, you're not going to see what we saw. We had an experience called Guavate.
Oh yeah, guavate. Yeah,
I'm gonna let you explain what guavate is.
So guavate is you literally will start at the bottom of the mountain, right at the very bottom. We call them lechoneras, right? So what lechoneras is you have these joints where people do their drinking, do their dancing, and do their eating. Lechoneras, obviously lechon, so that's pig, and so we started at the very bottom and went all the way to the tippy top. In the very restaurant that I took you to, that's the restaurant that I took all of my immediate family and Darla's family when we were getting married.
Oh.
So that's the place that I took you to. And we ate pig, we ate rice, we ate so many fried food, and we drank some medallas. Puerto Rican beer, which was delicious and it was refreshing.
Plantains. Lots of plantains.
Lots of plantains.
So good.
Tostones and the soft ones, right? So you had both. And so a lot of more locals do that than anything else. And if you, like you said, if you're from somewhere else and you go with someone local, then you'll get to experience that like you and Amy did.
And then Ranger Amy, of course, wanted to adopt all of the
dogs.
The dogs that were wandering around there. Even talked about going back to try to find ones that we named Bacon. Mia gave this dog the name Bacon. Your daughter Mia
named the dog Bacon. Yep. And so
which was hilarious. Holy smokes, though, we are recording this right now at roughly dinner time, and I am starving just thinking about all the food that we had. This food was so good. So we got to experience Puerto Rico, and look, we probably could have gone to other games while we were there. But
we could have, yeah.
Part of the beauty of baseball travel is getting to see the place, right? And so it would have been very expensive for us to try to see any game.
Christ.
Any game that involved Puerto Rico, we were talking hundreds of dollars.
On the bleachers, bleachers were hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, even the afternoon games where it was going to be a bajillion degrees, and we're roasting out there like one of those lechoneras.
Yeah, yeah, true story.
So we did stuff that was local and fun, but when we weren't at the games, if there were games going on, especially the night games, we found a way to watch them.
Like the first night that we were there, obviously we picked you up.
Yeah,
2 days in a row.
Listen, you can't just throw that out there. I get a text on Thursday of this trip, and the text says, have you landed yet? And I was going to say something smart alecky like, I have landed on the sofa with my coffee. What are you talking about?
All I get is a text message from you, Ed.
Ed.
I'm like, yes, that's my name.
And then I just went straight to Darla because I had to know whether you were being funny or not. But sure enough, you had driven to San Juan 24 hours early.
45 minutes, pay the toll, pay the gas. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just trying to make you feel worse. So the next day we then picked you up.
Yeah.
And then we went back to Old San Juan.
Yes. Which was awesome. Well, it took a minute to find parking, but we eventually found parking. And as you mentioned, we went to the fort, the El Morro Fort. And one of the first things that happened was we ran into a giant group of Canadian baseball fans. and we were
Correct.
going to
Yeah, we
see
did.
Canada versus Panama the next day or 2 days later.
Right.
And so I was chatting with them, and then one of the funny things that happened was
Oh, yeah.
these two women approached me later, and they were like, those Canadians who you were talking to, were
The
they like the
curling.
Canadian curling team?
Yeah.
It's like, no,
Like, no.
they were just like knuckleheads from Toronto who were rooting for the Canadian baseball team.
Correct.
Well, we keep talking about Medalla. Well, tell the people, Ed, about Medalla.
So Medalla is our beer, right? Like it's very light beer. Listen, this thing you can drink like 6 of them and you'll be fine.
Really?
But it was delicious. The day that we picked you up, we're like, all right, well, let's go see a game.
Yeah.
Puerto Rico was playing that night. Here, the thing is like I told you, like, you're gonna stay with us, but we're not going to be in the touristy area. We're gonna be center of town. We're gonna be, hanging out like as local as it gets. And we ate a lot of local food late at night. I gained so much weight.
A lot of fried dough, a lot of fried cheese. If they could have found a way to fry the beer, they would have.
We would have.
Fried plantains.
Yep, exactly. And so we were there. We hung out. We drank lots of Medalla beer. And you're like, oh my God, I need to have more of this.
Yeah.
And so you did.
But very importantly, on that night also, we visited a local ice cream establishment that had
that's right. The local, very local.
Yeah, some unique serving vessels. You had learned that Baskin-Robbins, but only the Baskin-Robbins in Puerto Rico.
In Puerto Rico.
They were serving ice cream in ice cream helmets, 3 different colored helmets. There was a red, a white, and a blue.
Yep.
And we went there. You and Ranger Amy and I went there. We taunted Mia by telling her it was too late for her to have ice cream. She couldn't have ice cream, so we ate ice cream in front of your 7-year-old daughter. And then I got to take home all those ice cream helmets. And then there were more of those ice cream helmets at the ball game that we went to.
Correct.
But by then we had what we needed. So we picked up some extras for folks who wanted them. But the Baskin-Robbins with the ice cream helmets with the Puerto Rican flag and the Baskin-Robbins logo, that was a major find that first night.
I saw that and I was like, where are these? Girl, like, I need to get these because like I know Paul's gonna want one. I know for sure, it's an ice cream helmet. And he collects them. So found out and they were like, all right, so we'll go to Baskin Robbins. I will force myself to eat some ice cream. Delicious.
The ice cream was good too.
It was really good.
Yeah. So we watched that game versus Colombia there in that bar. And then we watched several of the games on your parents' like back porch, but it wasn't just it was like
Terrace,
an open air terrace, but it was like set up with like a bar and a TV and all of us together hearing the Coquille Frogs, baseball in Spanish with the whole trip ahead of us. And I was like, take me back to that moment, Ed. That's as happy as I'm going to be right there.
That's as typical as it gets. Or like, hanging out in the terrace. Like, I mean, the weather was so nice.
Yes.
Like
yes.
At night, it was wonderful. It was not hot. It was cool. We went during a time where it was just not 1,000 degrees.
All right. Well, let's get to this. The day of the game, we were sort of chilling because we were tired. We had a couple of busy days. Everyone
nonstop.
We were good having a day to sort of sleep in and kick around the house a little bit. We got some amazing barbecue from a local joint and brought that home. That was incredible. And I'm not talking barbecue like Texas barbecue. I'm talking like Puerto Rican. It was uniquely delicious. And I was like, here, let me buy lunch for everybody, like your parents, the 5 of us, like let's buy this like enormous meal and it'll be like my treat to thank them. And you ordered like all this food and it was $58. Like what in the world?
You're like, wait, was it you were expecting it to be a few $100s?
I thought I was gonna be spending $200 on all this food. It was $58.
Nope.
But anyway, I am famously a person who will get to a ball game. Ball games and airports, I will get there as early as anyone lets me.
You and me both. Yeah.
And so I was like, well, it's a 7:00 game. It's a 45-minute drive. And the first number someone threw out was like 4:30. And I was just like, well, okay. And,
we kept negotiating.
I was trying not to drive everyone crazy. And then it was like, well, maybe 4:15. And then someone else was like, well, how about, and by the time we actually like game day came, we left at 3:00 in the afternoon.
Correct.
We got there. There was like very little traffic or whatever traffic there was. You made mincemeat of it. We parked and were like out of the car by 4:00. And I was like, oh no, I dragged everyone here 3 hours early. And, now what are we going to do? The little festival outside the ballpark was so much fun. We played games. We threw balls through holes. We jumped into pits. We had just an awesome time at this celebration outside. We drank a bunch of medallas and didn't feel anything because it's like 2% alcohol, I guess.
Yeah. And then we drank a lot of rum.
Yes, I did have some like mojito, a lychee fruit mojito. And
Yeah.
holy smokes, that was great. And I mostly got it because it came with like a little coin that helped you get your your Puerto Rico jersey from the Rums of Puerto Rico booth.
Yeah.
But
I'm thinking about having it put it in a case.
yeah, you're gonna get like a little shadow box for it. That'd be
Yeah,
great.
thinking of putting it in a shadow box. Yeah.
I love that idea. But you and I had both been to this ballpark like, I don't know, like 10, 12, 13 years ago. And like you say, the improvements on
different.
Iron Bithorn Stadium were just like amazing. Like it looked like a different ballpark to me. It was pretty incredible.
They spent, I believe, is what I was saying, it was like a close to 39 or a little bit close to $40 million to
Wow.
renovate the whole ballpark. Okay.
Wow.
Now again, Iran Bithorn is from like the 60s and 70s. Like
Yeah.
this is an old ballpark. However, it did not look like it was from that time period.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
you still had the angles on the roof and everything, the facade and all that. That's still there, right? But like when
Yeah.
they spent all of that money,
Yeah.
brand new field,
Yeah.
okay, all new seating,
Yep.
the bleachers and everything. They cleared it all out. They put new press boxes. They put food, vendors all the way at the top and then all the way at
Yeah.
the bottom.
Yeah.
And I had an absolute wonderful time.
It was a beautiful ballpark. And this was not, I mean, a lot of the World Baseball Classic games were jam-packed and, huge crowds and like all the like crazy. The fans were energetic, but it was by no means sold out, right? Like
No.
it was a
Well,
sparser
we did
crowd.
go see what
Canada and Panama.
and Panama.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, but those fans were loud. They were having fun. They were dancing. There
Yep.
was a 1 hour rain delay to get started. And then there was a rain delay in the top of the ninth. And credit to Mia and credit to Mia's parents, because I thought you guys were going to wave the white flag and just be like, okay, we tried. We did a good job.
Right.
And by the time we like decided like, okay, are we going to stay or are we going to go? The rain delay was over. And
Yep.
it was like the rain delay was like 13 minutes long. It was like this massive storm blew through and then like was gone.
And aren't we glad that we stayed though?
We did stay. There was no more scoring. It was top of the ninth with 1 out, and the score was 4-3 Panama. I'm pretty sure it was the only game Canada lost until they were eliminated in the quarterfinals. So they only lost that one game. They lost 4-3, but they made it interesting, and it was
They
pretty
sure
it was
did.
pretty exciting end of the game. And the Panamanian fans were dancing and singing and cheering, and the Canadian fans were loud. And it was, even though it was not a huge crowd, the fans were loud.
No, it was like by the end of the night, it was like, all right, a lot of people they just left. They're like, we're good.
Yeah.
We're gonna go ahead and leave. But no, man. It was there was definitely a very ruckus leftover crowd at the end of that game. And it was awesome. It's funny you say that, and I want to go back to something that you said earlier. It's like we got there like by 3:30, almost 4 o'clock, right? The reason why we wanted to get there is because obviously the stadium is in San Juan. Traffic there is a nightmare. Okay. And so we wanted to make sure that we had ample time to just make sure that we were not going to be stuck in traffic,
Right.
not be able to, partake in all of the festivities, because obviously you had the vendor, city and all that. And it was cool.
Well, and they also, I mean, I was laughing because, like, I would have left at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, right? Like, I would have just gone up there.
I'll be honest with you, I would have left with you. I would have been fine. If it was you and me, I would have been okay with that.
But what would have been funny about that is, like, if you and I had kept escalating what time we were going to leave, and we finally did, like, leave that early, we would have gotten there while the other game was already going on.
Yeah, right. And you remember the part where, like, we were watching this kid who got like all mad because the game was losing and everything, and we saw him on TV, the American kid, and then we saw him later on that as we were coming in.
Yeah, he was rooting for Columbia, I think, and he was wearing a Pittsburgh jersey. He was wearing a Pittsburgh City Connect, and it had a giant PGH on it. And they kept showing every time something bad happened to Columbia, they would show this kid
His
like
face.
sitting there looking mad.
Yeah.
And then what happened?
And then we saw him, and then, of course, as you guys already don't, if you guys don't know about Paul, is that he'll talk to a wall. And so this is something as podcasters that we do, right?
I was just going to say, isn't that called doing a podcast?
It's called doing a podcast, exactly. And so we usually, and you're like, oh heck, You weren't just on TV. And
It was the guy.
was
He
like,
was.
he was like, you're the guy. We just saw you on TV. He's like, huh?
He had no idea. I'm like, how are
No
your friends
clue.
not texting you that you're like they're showing you every 3 minutes. Every time Columbia kicked the ball into the stands, they were like, look at this guy.
Right, exactly. Like, how did you not have any friends or coworkers or anybody
Yeah.
say, you were just on TV, right? On national TV.
Like over and over and over again. He,
Like,
he
you
was
look dejected, but you were on TV.
he was very distinctive looking. First of all, he had the Pittsburgh PGH City Connect jersey, which is very distinctive. And then he had sort of like a narrow face and like a dark beard and sort of like dark hair. And so, yeah, he was. It was very easy, like the moment we saw him, just be like, "Hey, you're that guy."
Yeah, aren't you that guy?
I want to ask you one more question about just like the overall sort of Puerto Rican pride that I experienced. Because I got super caught up in it. I bought myself a bunch of Puerto Rico stuff. I've been wearing the hat that I got. I love this hat that I got. I wear it all the time. It's like the hat of choice these days. You know how that is. There's always one hat that's like the go-to, right? Like
It's on your yeah, absolutely.
Everywhere we went, people were wearing the jerseys. Look, I've been cooking tostones. I like.
It's funny you texted us that like you're like the day you got there. I sent you home with a box of bacalaitos.
Bacalaitos. We made the bacalaitos. We got some plantains at the grocery store. We were cooking up. Unfortunately, we can't get Medalla beer here in Colorado. You can in North Carolina. Yeah, we can't get it here in Colorado.
Yeah, that's what you know what that means. You got to move to North Carolina.
Got to move east. Got to move east.
Yep.
But the thing that I noticed while we were there, all of the fans were proud of their teams, and there was a lot of national pride. But we were obviously in Puerto Rico, so that extended well beyond just the ballpark, right? Like, and it was everywhere. I mean, it was in Humacao, an hour away. It was, in Old San Juan. The World Baseball Classic stuff was in all the gift shops, right? Like, it was everywhere, and that really enhanced the experience for me. And like, that's contagious, right? Like, I found myself like, hey, I'm Team Puerto Rico here. I am Team Rubio.
Right. Which I had to explain to you. Like, why are they?
I didn't know what it meant. Yeah. And
no,
so
and you would know, but like if you were following Team Puerto Rico as close as I do and all that, right? And so
dating a brunette, by the way, I'm in a relationship with a brunette who, who also didn't know that Team Rubio meant Team Blonde. So
yeah, Team Blonde.
Now she objects to my Team Rubio T-shirt that I got.
Awkward.
You are a Puerto Rican person. That Puerto Rican pride was really contagious to me. I'm sure it's, I know that Puerto Rico is fiercely proud of its island, right? Like that there is a lot of Puerto Rican pride.
Very much so.
But I mean, feeling that in that place during the World Baseball Classic was just really special for me.
There's a difference between, obviously someone can tell you how fiercely they are. Like I can tell you to the day I die that I'm a proud Puerto Rican, right?
Right.
I will wear even if it's not baseball season, I will wear a Puerto Rico hat, a Puerto Rico shirt, hoodie, anything, right? But it's a distinct difference when you go there and you truly do see it. And then then you put two and two together and you're like, you weren't kidding. Like, everybody wears their Puerto Rico on their sleeve. Like this is how it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's national pride.
It's an incredibly beautiful place. I'm so glad that we got to experience it with you, Ed, right? Like that made it really very special. And I wish I knew how to make mofongo. I don't think that's easy. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to make mofongo the way I make tostones.
It's not hard though, but there's some steps to it. Most definitely, but you should try it.
I'm gonna have to get your mom, who everyone called Mommy. I'm gonna
Mommy.
have to get Mommy to.
How good was that coffee?
Man, every morning we would wake up and your mom was just like at the ready. She was like, "Would you like coffee?" And I would wake up and I'd be like, waking up means coffee. I was like, that means I get to get out of bed and go. And then you were driving into town and you were getting these things called granitos. Did I say that?
Is you 100% correct. Look at you. Yes, it's called granito.
That's like not just Puerto Rican, but regional to Humacao.
It is the only place that you can get. There's a Puerto Rican delicacy is in Humacao, only. That's it. Nowhere else. For people that don't know what this is, again, it's also fried, but it is rice.
Yeah.
It is rice. It is fried into this little canoe-looking thing with a little dollop of cheese in the middle. And let me tell you, I ate so many of them. I knew that there was a certain amount of things when I went to Puerto Rico that I said I gotta get these.
Yeah.
Like these are the things that I gotta go and have and eat. And I was able to get every single one of them. So,
Well, it would set the stage for the rest of the day for eating a lot of fried stuff. And I'd be remiss if I didn't, before I let you go here, if I didn't just say thank you for. I mean, your parents put us up. That was incredibly generous of them. You toted us all around the island. You showed us not just the amazing touristy spots, but also, some of the more hidden
local,
spots,
yep.
the place where your wedding dinner was. We met your uncle. We drove into town and we met your uncle. We saw where you were born, the hospital where you were born. Like, I mean, this was an experience that, I will obviously never forget. And I don't know that it could be recreated, right? Like, unless, I could
Unless I
drive you
go
around
again.
Wayne, Pennsylvania, and show
let's
you.
do it. Let's do it. Let's go to Wayne, Pennsylvania.
I'm gonna take you to Philly and get you a Wawa soft pretzel and show you Lankenau Hospital where I was born.
As long as that gets a Philly cheesesteak, I'm okay with that.
Heck yeah.
I'm totally okay with that.
We'll go to D'Alessandro's. It's gonna be great.
Is it with? Do you eat it with or without?
It depends on the mood. I don't have a go-to. You know what I like more than I like onions, though? I like mushrooms. Give me
I like mushrooms.
Give me whiz and
Philly.
mushrooms on a cheesesteak. Like, holy smokes. Yeah. It's really good.
Yeah, I know about Philly
You got it.
cheesesteaks.
You know, and you knew whether to ask with or without, right? Like, that's
Yeah.
the first question you got to know. So,
yeah, you got to know.
Ed, I've said this every time you're on the podcast. I say this: your podcast inspired me to start a podcast. Look at us now. We got the Curve Brim Media Network. You've got all these live shows going on. Where can people find you online and on the socials?
I have no social presence whatsoever, so I don't know what you're talking about. I am okay. So I am on Blue Sky. I'm on Threads. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on TikTok. I am on YouTube. If you look at the Dad Hat Chronicles, you will find me. It is the Dad Hat 216, just to make it easier for everybody. A little bit of synergy. Got to give a little shout out to the 216 Cleveland. So that's why it's the Dad Hat 216.
Another place that was a home base for you for some time was Cleveland.
Many years, yeah.
You are a Cleveland sports fan because you live there. You live in North Carolina now, which has nicer weather and Medalla beer. So how can you complain?
Not complaining at all. They asked me the other day, "Hey, would you ever go back to live in Cleveland?" I'm like, no. That time has come and gone.
But you would Puerto Rico
in a heartbeat.
Yep.
Darla asked me, like, "Would you move here?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Hell, I was like, "I'll move here with you too, Ed." Ed, my friend, here's to many more baseball adventures in the future. This was a ton of fun. So fun to relive it with you. And on to the next adventure.
Let's do it.
Deep within the recesses of his secret headquarters, somewhere in Louisville, Kentucky, sits Dan Simon. By day, Dan is the owner of Studio Simon, but by night, he tries to stump one Paul Caputo. This is Studio Simon Stumper.
All right, everyone, welcome back. I am all full of tostones and Medalla beer and bacalaitos and just all sorts of fried food. So I don't know. I may be a little sluggish for this Studio Simon Stumper here, Dan. I hope that I can get my brain up to speed after all that fun travel in Puerto Rico. I'm not even going to begin to guess where you might go with a Studio Simon Stumper around the World Baseball Classic, around baseball in Puerto Rico. I'm going to hand the reins back over to you for a Studio Simon Stumper.
Well, where I am going to go is where you have already gone, specifically to Hiram Bithorn Stadium.
There you go.
And our Studio Simon Stumper today asks, which of these did not take place at Hiram Bithorn Stadium in San Juan, Puerto Rico?
Oof.
Was it A Major League Baseball opening day game was played there? Was it B, the Montreal Expos played a slate of their regular season home games there? Or C, the Brooklyn Dodgers held their spring training there?
So I'm reading the biography of Roberto Clemente right now. I started it during this trip. And I know that Roberto Clemente spent some of his time trying to get certain teams to play their spring training in Puerto Rico. I know for a fact that the Montreal Expos did play some of their regular season games in Puerto Rico. In fact, One of the things that Chris Creamer mentioned on the sportslogos.net podcast was that the last game ever between two Canadian Major League teams was played in Puerto Rico. The Blue Jays and the Expos, the last time they ever played each other was in Puerto Rico. So I'm fairly certain that there was, that answer B is not the answer, that it's either A, the opening day game, or C, the Brooklyn Dodgers playing their spring training there. Were they there before they were at Vero Beach is the real question. Boy, this is a tough one because I'm trying to think of the dates that they were at Vero Beach and the dates that Aaron B. Thorne Stadium was built. Dang. Oh man, this is a tough one, Dan, because I don't recall that there was an opening day game there. I think that the Brooklyn Dodgers had spring training there. I don't actually think that because I can't remember it happening. And I don't remember it being discussed in this book, but I don't think that there was an opening day game in Puerto Rico. Daggone it, Dan, this is a really hard one. I'm going to say that the opening day game in Puerto Rico did not happen.
Well, let's start off first by saying, did you know that you mentioned Roberto Clemente before he was a Pittsburgh Pirate? Do you know he was signed by the Brooklyn Dodgers?
He was signed by the Dodgers. And then they tried to just bury him. They didn't play him. They tried to keep him out of the eyes of the public because they didn't want too many minorities on their team at once, and they didn't want him to get picked up in the Rule 5 draft. So they tried to hide him by not playing him for the Montreal Royals, and he got picked up by the Pirates anyway.
But that has nothing to do.
No, I know it's neither here nor there. But it was something that I was thinking about, right? Because when he got signed by the Dodgers, I was trying to think did he think oh goodness, I'll get to play spring training here in Puerto Rico? But that was never, that's not in the book that I'm reading right now. This book that I'm reading, the Clemente biography, is so good.
Yes, I read that book when it came out. It was a gift from my wife. So, okay, so you were correct in that the Expos played games there. They played 22 games in 2003 and 21 games in 2004 before moving to Washington, D.C. in 2005, and of course becoming the Washington Nationals. But April 1st, 2001, the Toronto Blue Jays beat the Texas Rangers in Hiram B. Thorne Stadium 8-1. Now, as far as time, you were trying to figure out when the Dodgers were first at Vero Beach. That I don't know off the top of my head, but it was when Jackie Robinson was, it might actually be 1947 when he made his major league debut. For some reason that year it comes to mind for me, but I was trying to give you a chance at this one by, instead of just saying the Dodgers, where it could have been the Los Angeles Dodgers, I specifically said the Brooklyn Dodgers because, as some baseball fans know, the Brooklyn Dodgers moved to Los Angeles and played their first season in Los Angeles in 1958. But Hiram B. Thorne Stadium opened in 1962. So that, I was thinking you were just there. Maybe you would have heard that somewhere or not. Obviously not.
Yeah, I was trying to suss when the Dodgers started at Vero Beach. What I thought, and I should have gone with it, because I even said, before I gave my wrong answer, I said, I don't think the Dodgers played spring training at Aaron B. Thorne Stadium, but I'm going to go with opening day. Because I couldn't remember. I couldn't remember that there was an opening day in San Juan. But I should have used more logic and gone with my instinct that it was the Dodgers in spring training. But Dan, you win some and you lose some. We are in the baseball season now, and that is, we got 162 games. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. Studio Simon Stumpers, you're going to win some and you're going to lose some. I lost this one. We'll get them next time, Dan. It only takes one. Get them next time.
That's right. All the cliches. I look forward to the next one. And I hope you do too. And I'll see you next time.
Dan, this has been fun. Thank you. We'll see you next week.